There are so many myths about getting older. I thought it was high time I did some research to sort out fact from fiction. Turns out a lot of them have no basis in truth. Some of them are old wives' tales. A lot of them may have been true 2 or 3 generations ago or thought to be true. But, we've gotten better as we've gotten older. So let's dig in. My name is Karen, and it's my pleasure to host you today on this edition of the Oldish TV. Myth number one is that dementia is inevitable. We're going to get it. May as well just accept it and move forward. No, not so fast. According to the World Health Organization, the estimated percentage of people over the age of 60 who have been diagnosed with dementia is somewhere around 5 to 8%. Now, that's still a very big number, not to mislead you. 5 to 8% of a population that is, 7.8 billion on this earth is still a big number, and it's a major disease that needs to be dealt with. But take it down to the micro level, to each of us as individuals. It means that for the vast majority of us, we have a better than 90% chance of never having dementia at all. Now, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Glass half full. I like the 90 plus percentage odds a lot better. Now, forgetfulness is not the same thing as dementia. I forget things all the time. But this is what I'm going to believe, and I'm going to stick to it. Over our lifetime, we have learned so much. There is so much cluttered into this noggin up here that finding that name or that particular fact can sometimes take a minute. If it takes you a minute, but you eventually remember it, that's not dementia. That's forgetfulness. And that is a very normal part of getting older. I'm going to go with the cluttered brain thing. It means I know a lot. I just can't put my finger on it. I'm going to go with that. Myth number two, depression is normal in older adults. No, it's not. The reasoning is that when we get older, we can't do as much. We can't do the same things. We have to give up things in our lives. And so this leads to depression. Not necessarily true. Now, depression is a serious condition, no matter the age, but it turns out that older adults are actually less likely to become depressed than young adults. So if you know somebody or yourself who is suffering from something that you believe to be depression, you need to talk it over with your doctor. But do not buy into the myth that it's inevitable as you age that depression will be a part of that aging process. Myth number three, we need more sleep as we age. We still need 7 to 9 hours of good solid sleep. Now, here's where people tend to confuse things. You go to sleep one night, you wake up the next morning and realize that you've slept for 6 hours, and you think, oh, darn, I didn't get a good night's sleep. I didn't sleep long enough. Did you by chance forget to add in that nap you had in the afternoon? Or the time you spent asleep in front of the TV? That counts. Add up all the sleep. You need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. Not all at once, a day. Okay, let's bust that myth. Myth number four, if you exercise, you'll hurt yourself. I don't think you're any more likely to hurt yourself when you're older than when you're younger, if you don't properly prepare and stretch and so forth. But, we've talked a lot about exercise here on the Oldish, and by now, I think we all understand that we have more to lose by not exercising than by actually exercising. The old adage, move it or lose it, that is not a myth. If you don't move it, move it, move it, you will lose it. You may find that due to some chronic conditions or changes in your health of some other kind, you may have to alter the kind of exercise that you do. For instance, If your balance needs to be supported, you may want to add in some Tai Chi or some yoga to your regular routine. But there are lots of different kinds of exercises. We've talked about this before. You can go on YouTube, and there are chair exercises. There are exercises to do while you're standing, holding onto a chair, or sitting in a chair, just as much as there are exercises that you can do with a more free range of motion. Speaking of range of motion, that is one of the exercises that you want to do to keep things moving in your body. Okay? Speaking of which, we go to myth number 5. Falling is a normal part of aging. No, no, and no. Falling is not a normal part of aging. I have spent the better part of my career in fall and injury prevention, and I can tell you that is an absolute falsehood. Choose exercise that strengthens your balance. Make sure that you have good tread on the shoes that you wear, or in the wintertime, the boots. Pick up the things that are likely to cause falls in your home. Throw rugs. Pick up those throw rugs. Make sure that cords are tucked away wherever they can go. And when you're outside, be aware, scan your environment, be aware of where you are in space and time at any given moment. Be aware of the cracks in the sidewalk. Watch for those branches that have fallen in your path. Keep an eye on your peripheral vision for that skateboarder that's coming at you from the left. And if you are out on a nature trail somewhere, be aware of the uneven ground. Just being aware of where you are, in addition to the exercises that you do to strengthen your balance, will prevent you from falling. But falling is not a normal part of aging. Myth number 6, I have to stop driving. I guess eventually everybody has to stop driving. However, it's not inevitable. There are plenty of people retaining their driving licenses well into their 60s, 70s, 80s. I even hear of them in their 90s. As long as your vision isn't diminished, your hearing isn't diminished, your range of motion is still good, and your reflex time is good, then you are perhaps still a good driver. As soon as you start to lose any of that, you may be a danger not only to yourself, but those around you. Now, is it inevitable that our vision is going to diminish and our hearing is going to diminish? Yes, but we can get glasses. We can get our hearing checked. That is something that so many people are very stubborn about, is getting their hearing checked. Get your hearing checked, please. If you can do all of that and you are still safe, not in your opinion, but in the opinion of the people around you, then there's no reason why you can't retain your driving license. And it is really important to independence that you be able to do that. But when you have to give it up, make sure that you have a plan. You live near reliable transit, or you have access to the financial resources and the presence in your community of cabs, Ubers, whatever it is you like to take. Myth number 7, old dogs can't learn new tricks. Oh, yes, they can. That's just nonsense. We can and we should be learning every single solitary day of our lives. And we can do that. That's how that brain gets so stuffed with all those facts that you can't remember just off the top of your head. Technology is making us learn how to do lots of new things. For instance, in this pandemic, we are all getting really good at Zoom calls. We're learning how to use FaceTime and Skype in a way that we never did before. Technology is supporting us as we age with things like voice-enabled controls. Think Siri or Google, or there are lots of them. You have basically the basis of your choice with whatever technology you have in your home or want in your home that can support your aging. Think of things like waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and with a voice control, you tell it to turn on the lights so that you can see your path forward and not trip and fall. That's a really good thing. You can use voice controls to set reminders, to take medication, or to remind you that you have to go to an appointment somewhere. It all really helps us. And taking that time to learn it and making it part of our routine, this is a good thing. So technologies are good to keep in touch with all of our children and our grandchildren. Learning new languages keeps our minds really sharp. Understanding how to grow new plants is a fun hobby, and learning all the latest lingo from our grandchildren keeps us thinking that we're a little bit cool. You want to be cool? Yeah, learn the new lingo. We can also learn to keep ourselves healthier. It's never too late to give up smoking. That's a new trick that many dogs can learn, and that will improve your health. It's never too late to appreciate new forms of entertainment. They seem to manifest by the minute, and they can help our tasks all be enjoyable and fun. So never stop learning, and your mind will keep on growing and expanding. You want to keep those synapses snapping, learning, growing. Okay, myth number 8, osteoporosis is something that only affects women. Guys, this affects you too. Now, men do start out with greater bone density than women. But by the age of 65 or 70, men and women are losing bone density at exactly the same rate. So that makes men just as susceptible to fractures as women. It's not just a women's disease. Myth number 9, I will have to live in a nursing home. No, you won't. Aging in place is a discussion that is becoming increasingly louder and broader. If you don't know this now, if you're a regular watcher, you already know this. But if you don't watch this show on a regular basis, find Reno Studios on Facebook. We are doing a show called Real Life Renos. I know I've been saying that the rough cuts are going to be available in a couple of weeks. Once the rough cuts are available, we can give our notes on them, and the final version will be available, and I'm going to be ever so proud to show them to you. But aging in place is part of real life renos, the renovations we have to make to our lives to have the life we want and need and deserve, quite frankly. So, over 90% of people will remain in their own homes, either independently, with a partner, with a friend, or perhaps with an adult child, but not a nursing home. Over 90% of us. Now, for some of that 90%, when our care needs become too great, we may need to live in nursing care the last year, maybe year and a half or 2 years of our lives. But the vast majority of us will be able to stay in the home we want to be in. So that is a myth that, you're going to hit 65 and automatically reserve your room at the inn out in that agricultural field, which is where they tend to build nursing homes, where we're far removed from anything that we can walk to. Clearly, I'm not a big fan. I am a fan of nursing care because the people who work there are really caring and loving, and they want the best for you. I'm not in favor of building them far away where people cannot get out and walk to the coffee shop and be socially engaged and continue with some form of a normal life. All of the things that make us human and engaged social beings seem to be taken away from us when we're so far removed. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. The myth is not true. You do not necessarily end up in a nursing home. Over 90% of us will not. Myth number 10, and I've included this because it's a topic that is continually and consistently searched on our database of stories at theoldish.com. And that is this, that as we age, we have to stop being sexual beings. We do not. In an earlier show, you'll find it in our archive somewhere, I talked about the 90 plus study that was done in California. And this was a show that was featured on 60 Minutes. This was a couple of decades ago, but that study is ongoing. They take that data and they add to it because they had this wonderful captive audience of 90 plus year olds. And, nothing could be further from the truth. Sexuality is a part of our lives in our 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90 plus. What is normal is what you and your partner agree to. Does it change? Well, yeah, it changes. If you were the sort to engage in some aerobatics in your youth, you may not be able to do that anymore. But just as our diet and our exercise changes to accommodate our age and our range of motion and, progressive diseases and the fact that we may be tired earlier in the evening than we used to be, I mean, all of those things come into play. But don't think that any of that means you have to stop being a sexual being with or without a partner. It is not true. That myth is busted. All right, people, that is our show for today. 10 myths around aging that I hope you will stop buying into if indeed you ever did. And I do hope that you will join us next Wednesday at 12 noon on the Oldish TV. Until then, take care of one another, take care of yourselves, and do remember that it takes a village to age a senior. Bye.